In this module, we will go through some of the sources and do some walkthroughs, get some tutorials on how to use things like these repositories for government data. They're very large, there are a lot of them, but we'll go through some of the biggest ones where you're going to most likely pull a lot of the data from. And the objectives for this module, by the end, you will be able to understand the different types of the ways to access and use government data. You'll be able to pull 1 to 2 layers from each of the websites in the module, and you'll be able to organize data for use in GIS visual applications. Some key terminology that you'll see in this module. We'll talk about public government data, environmental justice, census data, and data.gov. There are a couple of other websites that we will hit in there as well, but the environmental justice, census data, and the data.gov websites will pretty much cover the gamut. And we're going to start with the census. So the census is a vital component of tracking our citizens, businesses, and communities. It's how the government allocates funds. It's how the seats for the House of Representatives get determined, and all of those things. So it's very important data that exists or that we generate with these surveys with the U.S. Census. Understanding the census data is crucial for tracking populations, demographic, and societal trends. If you have populations that are moving in or out of a state, maybe you need to know why. Maybe it's important to look at economic factors or age-related factors or something along those lines. And this is a really good data set to do all of those things. So we'll go ahead now and we'll move into a short demonstration, a little video about the U.S. Census and the data it collects or generates.
Beginning in March, the U.S. Census Bureau will invite households across the country to participate in the 2020 census. But what is the census? Simply put, the census is a head count of every person living in the United States. To be sure the government represents the people, the U.S. Constitution requires a population count every 10 years. Ever since 1790, the census has determined the number of seats each state receives in the U.S. House of Representatives. It is, and always has been, a cornerstone of our democracy. We still use it to determine representation, but leaders also use the data to make decisions. Your response helps guide planning for the future of our communities. The 2020 census will help inform decisions on how billions of dollars are allocated annually for critical public services like roads, schools, hospitals and healthcare clinics, fire and emergency response services, and hundreds of other programs. In 2020, for the first time, you'll be able to complete the census online, by phone, or by mail. It asks a few simple questions, like how many people live in your home on April 1st, including their age and sex, and if there are any children living there. You should know that by law, all census responses are completely confidential, and your personal information cannot be shared with any law enforcement agencies. Every person counts, no matter who you are or where you live. So whether your family has participated for decades or the 2020 census will be your first, we all have a role in shaping the future of our country.
So everybody be pretty well familiar with the census. Like they said in the video, it's been happening since 1790. But that video also brings up a very interesting point because we are in 2024 as this class is being recorded, and the latest census, which they were just talking about, was the 2020 census. And really, in the last year or so, you've really seen that data fully emerge and fully be implemented and taken advantage of or used. on the broadest scale, broadest sense of it. And I think it's important to remember that, especially with some of these government data and larger big data um, assets that are out there, they're collecting so much stuff. It does take a very long time to really get through. So if you're looking at something from, say, a 50,000-foot view, right, from a very large general perspective, you're going to have some time offset, right? So it's kind of a reactive process at that point, as opposed to point data and things that are very small, that are more in the moment. The bigger your data set gets, a lot of times the less time critical in a sense, but the bigger of a time gap that you'll end up having. Most of the things that you do with data, because they have been recorded and you have to do the analyzing and the processing, will be somewhat reactive. So we have talked about predictive policing and some of those things. So establishing those patterns helps to do that, to be able to forecast what the data will be. But not everybody is doing that, and that may not be something that is necessarily in, the requirements for your mission or for your purpose. So sometimes it's important to kind of keep that in mind, that maybe this is a few years out of date, maybe things have changed. And it also helps whenever you see statistics and other things that come from data analysis being used. They usually have a little caveat, this number is accurate as of 2020 or 2012 or whatever the case may be. So just something to keep in mind. So overview of the U.S. Census here, continuing on from that video, provides vital information about the population of households, goes back to the demographics we talked about in Module 3, age, sex, race, income, those markers that typically functional when you're looking at different aspects of our overall society, and how things play out, where the gaps are, where the wage gaps are, or where the education gaps are, where the inequalities are. It gives you some of those, baseline points to delineate and differentiate and find inequalities from. So 2 main front-facing access points to the census website. The quick facts offer a snapshot, while data.census.gov provides some in-depth insights. Data.census.gov is a deeper dive than the census quick facts. It allows you to pull a lot more data than just the small snapshots.
Alright, in this video we will do a quick tutorial on how to use the United States Census Bureau webpage. We are currently at census.gov. If you're interested in some quick comparison and quick facts, the easiest way is to go to the home page, scroll down to view quick facts. Now, you can add multiple cities and topics into this quick facts finder. For example, let's start with the state of Georgia. All right, if you see, it has now added the metrics specifically for Georgia compared to the United States. Now, say I'm curious about Atlanta, Georgia. Put that in there. Oh, it didn't like Atlanta. Let's see here. There we go, it calls it Atlanta City, Georgia, and there we go. Now we have quick facts for all 3. Scrolling down, we can find, there you go, there's your percentage of people under the age of 5. You can find race, population characteristics, housing, family living arrangements, and again, you can compare all 3. Keep going down. We're right in line in Atlanta with the national average for the amount of households with a computer. Now keep in mind this data is a couple years old. Businesses all the way down. So a really good snapshot at exactly all the data that Census has. If we're interested in a chart comparing, you can click on chart and it will scroll down. Right here, it's giving us just the population estimates. If I want to change to 2 or more races, for example, or any other facts in the spreadsheet that we just saw, I can do that very easily with one click of a button. As you can see, again, with those computers, we're right online with state and national averages. Also, if I am interested in downloading this information or printing it out, I can print very easily. I could email it to myself or others, and then I could also turn it into a CSV. As soon as I click it, it is quickly downloaded. We'll then open up and I can see the 3 comparisons for the 3 states all the way down. So all of the material and information that I was just looking at is now included here.
All right, so as you saw, data.census.gov, well, that was a snapshot, but we've also got data.census.gov, if you remember from just before that tutorial. It gives more access to data, deeper, fuller access, more manipulation, more customization. It's more complicated, but it does have a lot richer data set. Here you can find APIs, shapefiles, and other downloadable data files, depending on what application you're looking for, what purpose you're looking for. Those different things do different things. You'll be working with shapefiles more often on the mapping and visual data analysis side. But APIs are also important, for collecting more current point data, for instance, or something like that. You see those APIs are like when you go to weather.com or you go to a website that has a widget for the weather and it updates your location and the temperature, those things. So how that pulls that information is an API. It's an API call. It hits the database, and the database then sends that data over so that it can display that in the widget. So you can find, access to different points of data in here where those APIs are functional as well. Short video here.
Hi, my name is Tyson Weister. When you come to data.census.gov for any data search, you must choose between 2 ways to get started: the single search bar or the advanced search. If you're not sure which one will meet your data needs best, this video is for you. In this tutorial, I'll show you ways to get started with each search option and provide tips and tricks to make the most of your search. Let's go. When you visit data.census.gov, the landing page offers 2 ways to start your data search: the single search bar and the advanced search link. You can access both options in the center of the page. Let's take a closer look at the single search bar. We recommend the single search bar when you want to find a statistic quickly, or for experienced data users that know their table ID or NAICS code. You can enter search terms for various topics, common types of geographies, year of data, table IDs, groups of tables, or industry codes. You don't have to search for one search term at a time either. You can use a combination of keywords like your topic of interest and a single geography. The single search bar supports geographies at the national, state, county, city, town, congressional district, school district, tribal area, and zip code levels. If you're new to Census Bureau data, Here are a few of the high-level topics covered in data.census.gov. The single search bar allows you the flexibility to attempt to search for any keyword, but these are a few recommendations if you're not sure where to start. Now let's see how simple it is to use the single search bar to find a quick statistic. To start, let's say you are interested in finding the average commute in Lakewood City, Colorado. Click into the single search bar, type commuting in Lakewood City, Colorado, and press enter. This takes you to the All Results page. In this case, you will see in the upper left that the site found a match for two filters, a topic filter for commuting and a geography filter for Lakewood City, Colorado. You will also notice a featured statistic at the top of the page. It shows that the average travel time to work in Lakewood City was 27.2 minutes according to the 2020 American Community Survey 5-year estimates. To explore the available data in more detail, simply click the Tables tab at the top. The list of table results shows there are 174 other tables to explore on this topic. One helpful tip is to look closely at your results for table IDs and keywords in the table names. This is a great way to improve your use of the single search bar and get the most out of the data platform in future searches. For our second example, let's see how you can search by table ID. It's the most direct way to get back to a table result once you've went through the steps to find a table that has data you are interested in. Simply click into the single search bar and type in your desired table IDs separated by a space. In this example, we'll type DP02, DP03, DP04, DP05, and press enter. From here, we can select each table individually to view the data. If you're ever feeling overwhelmed by the number of table results you are getting, I recommend checking out these data profiles. They cover the most popular statistics across all topics of the American Community Survey in just a few tables. Now let's click the U.S. Census Bureau logo in the upper left to clear out our search and take us back to the landing page. Keep in mind that when you use the single search bar, the system is making its one best guess to interpret all the text you typed. We try to perfect the single search functionality, but our best guess may not always match your intent or expectations. The good news is that we offer another easy way to choose predefined search options using the advanced search. Now, when you hear the word advanced, you may be wondering, is this the right search for me? The advanced search is for all types of data users, regardless if you are new to census data or an experienced data user. We recommend it anytime you want to select topics, geographies, years, surveys, programs, or codes, especially if you're having trouble finding something through the single search bar. I love the advanced search for 3 reasons. First, it provides a guided approach to select your search criteria. This allows you to browse the available search options without requiring you to have any knowledge about Census Bureau data. The second benefit is that the advanced search is more precise than the single search bar. All you have to do is mark the checkboxes for any filters that you want to include in your search. You do not have to come up with your own words to describe your search or rely on us to interpret them exactly as you intended. The third benefit of the advanced search is that it allows you to access all available search options, including the full set of geographies, topics, and codes. For example, some types of geographies are only available through the advanced search, such as metro areas, census tracts, block groups, and blocks. Now let's see how easy it is to find data using the advanced search. Imagine you want to find the population for all census tracts in Saratoga County, New York. To get started, click the advanced search link located directly below the single search bar. You'll see the phrase "Find a filter" on the left side of the page. We will click through a couple of these categories. I like to think the site is asking us a series of questions as we go along, and that our answers will guide us to the checkboxes that match our interests. We're always looking for a checkbox as a final selection. Any words or phrases you click that do not have checkboxes provide more detailed options to choose from. Now we'll start using the filters to select our geography. Here we'll click Geography. It asks us for the type. We'll choose Tract. It asks for a state. We'll click New York. Now it asks for a county. Select Saratoga County, New York. Then click the checkbox for all census tracts within Saratoga County at the top of the list, and make sure it's been added to your selected filters in the upper left. Next, we'll choose our topic. Click Topics on the left and select Populations and People, Counts, Estimates, and Projections, and then check the box next to Population Total. Once again, make sure the selection appears in the upper left, click the search button in the lower right, and then click Tables at the top. Now we see our results. The first table shows total population from the 2020 census in the first row. As we follow the row across, we get these data for each census tract in Saratoga County. As a final tip, before you start selecting filters, think about what's the most critical piece of information you need to find. If you absolutely need data for a specific topic, it's best to find that filter first and add it to your search. From there, you can add the geography you need based on what is available for that topic. On the other hand, if the geography is most important, you should start with that filter instead. So remember, use the single search bar when you want to find a key statistic quickly, or when you know the exact table that you want to find. Use the advanced search as a guided approach to access all available search options, or when you want a more precise way to select your search criteria. Thank you for tuning into this video. For more helpful resources on how to navigate data.census.gov, apply filters, create a map, or download data, please visit the data.census.gov help website.
All right. So next thing we're going to cover is the American Community Survey data. American Community Survey continuously collects demographic data to understand communities and their unique characteristics. Accessing this survey data can give more up-to-date community characteristics than the Census Bureau.
The U.S. Census Bureau's American is a nationwide survey that collects information on the demographic, social, economic, and housing characteristics of the U.S. population. The ACS is the best annually updated source of local comparable data. Data analysts, government officials, businesses, and many others use these statistics for local planning and policy development, and to track the population's well-being. The ACS is an ongoing survey sent to a representative sample of 3.5 million addresses per year, with survey information collected nearly every day of the year. In addition to collecting information about households, the Census Bureau also collects ACS data for people living in group quarter facilities such as college dorms, prisons, and military barracks. Each annual release from the ACS contains data collected in the prior year, making it one of the most up-to-date resources on the U.S. population. Typically, data releases begin in September and continue through January of the next calendar year. For example, data collected in the 2019 ACS will begin to be released in fall 2020. Because the ACS is in the field continuously and data are pulled across a calendar year to produce estimates for that year, ACS estimates reflect a period of time rather than a single point in time. The Census Bureau produces two main types of ACS estimates, one-year estimates and 5-year estimates. The one-year ACS estimates provide data for a 12-month calendar year period,
and the 5-year estimates combine 60 consecutive months of data to produce estimates that cover a 5-year period. Choosing to use the 1-year estimates or the 5-year estimates depends on several factors, such as the size of the geographic area of interest, the importance of having the most current estimate, and the need for the most precise estimate. Data from the ACS are tabulated for a variety of geographic areas, ranging from large areas such as the nation and states to smaller areas such as cities, school districts, and census tracts. Many geographic areas are organized in a hierarchy, with smaller geographic areas nested within larger geographic areas. For example, census tracts are nested within counties, and counties are nested within states. The wide range of geographic areas available allows data users to drill down to describe the characteristics of their communities, how they compare with other geographic areas, and how they have changed across time. For geographic areas with smaller populations, the ACS samples too few housing units to provide reliable, single-year estimates. 1-year estimates are available for geographic areas with at least 65,000 people, and 1-year supplemental estimates provide selected data for geographic areas with at least 20,000 people. The 5-year ACS data provide estimates for all geographic areas down to the block group level. Because the ACS is based on a sample rather than all housing units and people, ACS estimates have a degree of uncertainty associated with them, called sampling error. In general, the larger the sample, the smaller the level of sampling error. The ACS includes many topics that are relevant for child well-being, such as school enrollment and educational attainment, employment status, income, health insurance coverage, and family structure. Many ACS data tables are also available, disaggregated by age, sex, race, and ethnicity. Data.census.gov is the Census Bureau's new tool for accessing ACS and other Census Bureau data. It provides access to many different types of data tables, ranging from data profiles that summarize key social and economic data for a single geography to detailed tables that provide comprehensive statistics for all subjects included in the ACS. To use data.census.gov, begin by typing in a subject or topic of interest. For example, poverty. You can also use an advanced search to apply filters and browse the available data. The Census Bureau has several training tools available to assist you in getting started with data.census.gov. More advanced data users can also access detailed ACS data through downloadable summary files, the Public Use Microdata Sample Files, or PUMs, or the Census Bureau's Application Programming Interface, or API. To find out more about the ACS, visit the Census Bureau's ACS webpage, where you can learn about the survey, access different types of data user documentation, and view several training webinars. For example, the Census Bureau has produced a series of ACS handbooks to help data users understand the basics of the survey and how the data can be used. You can also join the ACS Data Users Group. Through this free online community, you can communicate with others about ACS data and learn about ACS-related events and data applications.
And now for the fun stuff. Now, I don't know if anybody heard it in there, but my ears always catch whenever like corporate lingo and things, those corporate catchphrases make it into more common usage. And they used the phrase drill down when they were talking about the hierarchies and the flowcharts. And that's definitely some of that corporate lingo. Stuff I find interesting. But I don't know how much data is on it. Certainly none at the Census Bureau website, which is now your turn to dive into. So you're going to visit the Census Bureau website and use the quick search to find your zip code or the city or region of your choice, wherever your efforts are, wherever your programs, operations are, wherever you want. Use the area that you're going to build a map around later on through this course. This is some of the early steps there, right? Building blocks. So then you will review the data. You click on the charts, and any of the charts that interest you, you save those to Google Drive or desktop or computer file for later use. And then you'll download quick search data into a CSV file. And there you see naming convention. So city name, wherever your or region, and then underscore data class .csv. You can also just pause this training and then come back if it takes you a little bit longer than that. So we'll let the timer wind down for just a few more seconds. All right. So now moving forward. Empowering environmental justice with CEJST, which is the Climate and Economic Justice Screening Tool, which is a valuable resource. It identifies some environmentally disadvantaged areas, helps you locate pollution hotspots or things of that nature, Superfund sites. It is a really good tool to help promote equitable access to resource, but it also really shows you the communities that have been hardest hit, the communities that are most at risk, the communities that are in closest proximity to polluters of whether it's water or air or otherwise. And it's got some historical data to kind of backdate those things too. So, yeah, so it's a very, very powerful resource. And we're going to get into it a little bit here. So it will enable quick identification of locations with environmental disadvantages. That's an umbrella term, you know, those things I just mentioned, all of that falls in there. So once we get in, you'll be able to see a lot of the different things that you're able to manipulate in there. And it's a very powerful tool. You'll have a lot of different options. And there are some surprising things that will pull back. The communities are that are in recognized areas of disadvantage, they are often given priority for federal funding, for federal cleanup or federal environmental things or what have you, grants, a lot of those things. So this is a tool that is used to make the decisions a lot of times at a regulatory and legislative level, as well as being open source because it's government collected. Users can input addresses to access detailed findings at specific locations. So if you wanted to know exactly at this address or exactly at that address, you know, what the data suggested or what the data showed their environment was like, then you can do that as well. Yeah, again, it's very important for guiding those policy decisions. Policy interventions, it's policy reactions. Interventions, I don't like the term interventions as much. Yeah, because it is so reactive. You know, you're going in to try to stop something that's been going on, and I don't know. It's not necessarily an incorrect term, but you get the idea. It's so that policymakers can take action. Maybe that's why I don't like intervention so much. It's because there's so much dependency on whether or not they actually choose to go in and do something.
Okay, let's dig into the Climate and Economic Justice Screening Tool. The easiest way to find it personally is to go Google CEJST, and this should pop up, or just to Google the Climate Economic Justice Screening Tool. Click on the link. This is the website it will take you to. So the tool itself is a way to determine whether communities are disadvantaged or not based on a wide spectrum of criteria. So that could be access to energy, access to drinking water, poverty level, the amount of concentration of toxins next to them. So it's kind of all layers, all of this information together to give you an idea of whether or not the community itself is considered disadvantaged. This becomes incredibly important when you are talking about federal or state funds, specifically with the Infrastructure Reduction Act or Recovery Act and some of the other big federal funds that have come out in the last couple of years that have really dug into disadvantaged communities. This is going to be the impetus for determining whether your community is disadvantaged or not. So we've been focusing on Atlanta, Georgia. So we're going to put Atlanta in here, press turn, let it do its thing. There we go. Now, this has a lot of information on it, so you might have to be a little bit patient as it pulls up information. So here we go. You can see if it is gray, it is disadvantaged. If it is not, it is not. If you've looked at any of the other videos, part of this series, EPA and the environmental justice screen, you've seen a lot of red in this lower part of the Atlanta Beltline area. So it shouldn't be a huge surprise that when we click over here, we find out that those are in fact disadvantaged communities. Now I have clicked on one census tract. All I had to do was hover over and click on it, and it will pull up information about that census tract for me. So this is Fulton County. Our population is just about 5,000, 98% Black or African American. And our average age is 10 to 64, with 19% children under the age of 10. This, yes, is a disadvantaged community, and we can scroll down to understand a little bit more about why. Not a huge surprise that there's not expected agricultural loss rate. There's probably not a decent amount of agriculture in downtown Atlanta. But it is low income, so that fits above the 65th percentile. It is an area that is low income. And look at this, its average annual energy costs are the 98th percentile in the United States. They have some of the most expensive energy costs, and of course low income. And then this is the particulate matter. So PM 2.5 is the size of the particulates floating in the air. There are many different contaminants that become a source of particulate matter, but none of them are great for you to breathe into your lungs. Here we go. So asthma. So this is in the 96th percentile in the nation for the number of people that have asthma. Diabetes, 98th percentile. Heart disease, 95th percentile. Low life expectancy, 99th percentile. And again, low income. Same with housing costs. Shares of households making less than 80% of the area median family income and spending more than 30% of the income on housing, 96th percentile in the nation. So the folks are not making enough to afford the cost of housing in the community. The good news is that it's not super high with lead paint. That's always great. Legacy pollution. So there's not a lot of legacy pollution in the area. That's great. Transportation barriers are a big issue for this community. So 94th percentile in the nation for the amount of time that it takes for them to travel from one location to another. And that becomes really important for work. And then our last one, so the blue means that it fits into a disadvantaged category. Low median income, 98th percentile. Poverty, 96th percentile. 98th in unemployment. So there's a lack of good paying jobs in the area or the ability of people to get those jobs. and 23% of the community has less than a high school education. Those are pretty disturbing numbers, unfortunately. If you are interested in using this tool outside of what we're looking at here, you can go to the downloads. You can download just your community data. You can download your community list data. So this is your Excel spreadsheet. This is a CSV. We'll play with some of these in a little bit. And then this is the shape file. So we will actually come back and pull this shape file in later. But if you're going to use ArcGIS or any of the GIS mapping, shapefile is usually the easiest thing to do. This is a relatively easy one to download because if you click shapefile, it will immediately begin to download because it is not a huge amount of data that needs to be parsed out. We will do that once we build it into the mapping. But this is your climate and economic justice screening tool. Again, this is a very valuable tool for determining whether or not the federal government deems your area as disadvantaged or not. The last thing I will say is that many states are taking this tool and building on it and adding other components because there are areas where this tool is not fully recognizing the breadth of the disadvantaged of some of the communities, and so a lot of this is being kind of finalized or played with and changed up by the individual states as they try to wrestle with this information as well and try to deal with how we need to move forward to recognize the disadvantaged communities and what steps we need to take to ensure that they are receiving the resources and not continuing to receive the disproportionate burden of pollution.
All right, so now we're back to your turn again, just like before. If we can get it brought up here the right way. There we go. All right. So we'll have you visit the CEJST website. Easiest way is to just Google CGIST. Enter your zip code wherever you're building this map. And then on the right side of the screen, go ahead and click through the different categories. Does it show how the community is disadvantaged? Does it show any of that data up there? So browse through that data, see what you can learn. At the top right of the screen, you'll click download. Then you'll download the shape file. The naming convention is right here at the bottom of the text on the left, and you'll save that in that class folder. That file will download as a zip file. Go ahead and put the whole thing, extract all of it to your class folder. And we'll put a pause on this video right here so that you can see these naming conventions and these instructions and give you a few minutes to execute that.